one bill, it's, one vendor that way, they bid it out and they get it. It's great. It's great. And the cyber,
Test
I
one,
love
two,
that.
three. Test one, two, three.
Can do the cyber.
Okay, I'm gonna do it again.
And get a cart. Everybody gets a cart.
Test one, two, three.
But it goes into a.
Test one, two, three.
Once it goes into
I
a
don't
truck,
feel like it
I ask the
echoed. Should
question,
it echo?
well, if there's anything in there.
Maybe, but I'm live streaming the sound, so I'm
It's on.
test one, two, three. Test one, two, three.
So the driver takes this cart and dumps it in his truck and you get over your sweat.
Okay,
Take a picture.
you okay?
Pays up, doesn't he?
Here, my phone go off, you don't know what to do.
He asked me earlier,
Okay.
so I kind of knew.
Put it in the freezer. I thought it froze solid because I didn't want it to melt on you.
I actually like it like that.
Oh, okay.
Just what, you okay?
So I'm actually quite happy.
Oh, I thought it was you. Are you sickly?
Not yet, unless she.
Well, let's
That's
keep
not
it
good.
that way. I would appreciate if you wouldn't get sick. Oh,
I've been staying away from her.
oh, I hope she feels better.
Okay, perfect.
I bet you I can find someone.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm dandy. Since yesterday. Since yesterday.
You guys.
Hi, Kelly.
Hello. Sorry, I'm spreading all over the place here.
Are you gonna need the?
Anyway.
There's our line. Spin it.
All right, we're gonna open this special board meeting. USD 259, 261, 214, 227. Where are we?
Hike, hike, hike.
And we're gonna open that. Mr. Steve.
Are we ready to talk about budget amendments? All right, basically, we need to publish the budget due to the at-risk funding. It changed after the budget was published. So that therefore we need to republish it to gain those monies that's available in that. What this basically does, it affects us by about $801,961 additional monies in our general fund. And that was part of negotiations, just so you know, that was part of the package since we settled a little late. So that includes in that. What this also does is it's required to republish and then a budget hearing, which we're having tonight. And then BOE approval, which we're having tonight. It does not change any of the original taxes or the original tax levies. So that all remains the same. The majority of it was going to go to the at-risk fund with a transfer. The monies come in from the general fund as a revenue, and then it was transferred out to the at-risk fund for the majority of it. We'll show that in just a minute on these budget handouts. We also want to publish for the special ed fund, just in case we receive more additional special ed monies at the end of the year. That's not calculated and finished till June. So I just want to make sure we have enough in that to make sure we have enough to take care of the business if we get more monies in special state aid. Okay. At the end of this, after I review this information with you, I'll be asking for a motion and approval to amend the budget as presented and for the BOE president and board clerk to sign the documents. And if we're ready to review the information, I gave you a little handout. And what I did was I highlighted the changes that were from the original document. So we don't have to go through each individual detail. We can go to those individual highlight areas and kind of touch on that. The notice of hearing was published in the paper. And as you can see, we increased the general fund by $801,961. We increased the at-risk K-12 by $629,496. And we increased special education $100,000 from the original published budgets. That's what we published in the paper. Now behind that, on page 2, that's the paper document showing that we put that in the paper for the special notice, for the special board meeting notice tonight, and published the information in a little smaller print, but you can still read it. And that was in the paper on May 4th. It's required to have that done 10 days prior to the board meeting, and we more than that met that requirement. So we should be good there. In regards to the certificate, I just highlighted again those 3 funds that we're talking about, that they did increase. And again, no tax changes or anything affected with that at all. Good so far? All right. Then the next page just shows the bottom part of that where it shows the total amount increasing in expenditures. And again, will be where the board president and board clerk will sign that document. In regards to the general fund on page 5, I simply highlighted that amount for the new state aid funding coming through, an increase of $801,961. And it increases also, of course, the revenues available and the total expenditures for the same amount. Then I put part of that down into the other category. You'll notice that the previous 2 years, that was a little less than we published for previous years. So I thought a little bit of money in there would be good. And we met all the at-risk monies we're going to show here on the next page, 2 pages down. Page 6 has no changes. Page 7 has no changes. And page 8 has no changes. When we get into the transfers in the general fund, we're increasing the special ed by the $100,000 from the original transfer. And the at-risk K-12, we're increasing that $629,496 to meet the minimum requirements that's required by the statutes. Then that totals up for an increase of $801,961 in the general fund. So we're just capturing all the monies available. Yes, sir.
That same page, page 9.
Yes, sir.
Special ed going up 100,000.
Yes.
Was it previously 6,501 to 6,504? That's not $100,000.
Well,
Did I miss something?
okay. The previous actual expenditure last year was $6,501,000. That's true.
Okay.
The publication for this year was $6,404,000.
Okay, okay.
To make sense. So yes, we increased that by $100,000 and it should be very close to what was actually happened last year by the time we're done. You're right. Good catch.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on that page? Make sense? All right. Then if we flip over, we're talking about the at-risk K-12. And the only thing that was affected is the transfer from the general fund. That amount increased by that $629,000 again. And increased the available revenues and the total available expenditures if we need it. So that's all that has changed on that page too. How we plan on potentially spending it, we stuck that down in the other and then under the instructional for the same reason, for flexibility. Most all of that is going to go towards salaries like we originally planned on in negotiations, but that was a place to put it so we could see it easily and know where it's at. But it can all go up into salaries, no problem. Any questions on that? Then at risk, the next page, page 11, it stays the same, no changes. Page 12, when you add all that rascal up, we increased by the $629,000 in at risk. Questions on at risk? Okay. And then in special education, just for the what ifs, if we get more state aid than potentially we publish for, we increased that transfer $100,000, and you'll see that from the general fund from what was originally published. And then that also increases the available funds and the total available expenditures if needed for that same amount. Any questions on the front page there? And next page on page 14. Do the same thing, put it in instructional. Reserve authority, that's again to show the increase and if needed. And again, it potentially would all go to salaries also, because that's most likely the expenditures are going to increase in this budget also. Okay. The rest of the pages in special ed would stay the same. Page 15 and 16. And the only thing that would change again would be page 17, the very bottom line. Total expenditures potential and the republication would go to 15.1, and that's an increase of $100,000 from what we originally published also. Any questions on special ed? All right, if not, then the final page is the notice of hearing. Again, we would ask, the only thing that changed basically is the same amounts for the general fund, at risk, and special ed. And we would ask for the board president and board clerk to sign those. And at the bottom line is we'd request board motion to approve the budget republication as presented and authorize the BOE president and board clerk to sign the documents. If there's no further questions. Yes, sir.
Traditionally, in published budget, we run it by the state of Kansas or send it to them. Did they review this or?
Did not,
Okay.
did
okay,
not,
I
for
didn't
not for
know.
republication anyway, but you're right. I would normally send the document originally to the state, yes, and let them review
But
it.
this revision didn't,
I did not take it
it's
past
not
that.
required or
It's not
not
required.
mandatory. Okay, thank you.
Correct.
Any other questions from the board? I might stress, this is not new monies that we weren't anticipating. This is monies that we were anticipating that we just have now received. So it's not as though we got all this money laying around, we're scratching our head trying to find a way to spend. This money's already spent.
Yes.
We're just now getting paid for it. So taxes aren't going to change because of this, and we don't have extra money.
I'll make a motion to.
Wait a minute,
Oops, sorry.
please wait.
I'm-
Anybody from the audience like to speak about this? The amendment? No one? All right. I'll make a motion to replenish the 22-23 general fund budget as at-risk fund budget and the special ed budget as presented.
I'll second that.
We have to do things formally here, okay? Any further discussion? Motion by myself, second by Miss Jennifer. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. 5 minutes.
instructors.
Yeah, I was kind of working as soon as they won't be able to see it. Except for the very Sorry.
Over here, thank you.
I said that's why he's there. That way you can tell him, we can educate this kid. We can educate anybody. It's fine. Yeah. You're so cute. Tonight, Wednesday night is middle school swim party.
It's the middle school swim party.
The hack does a swim party at the end of the year and the beginning of the year for middle school.
Just middle school.
Just middle school, going into fifth or going into sixth. So the fifth graders, sixth graders, seventh graders, and eighth graders. If that makes sense. So the people transitioning.
Do any of the school stuff. Call this meeting of the Board of Education for USD 261 to order. We'll start out with the flag salute. Please stand. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So monotone when there's not other
Usually
kids
we don't
here.
have a bunch of little kids in here. do
Yeah,
we?
that's why I said it's so monotone when it's just us.
President's announcements. I don't have a whole lot of president's announcements outside of, I'm glad the graduations are done. I'm glad the schools are done. I'm glad the teachers are done. I'm glad. Am I done?
Nope.
Maybe a no. I don't have anything, Debbie. Outside of, there's been a ton of stuff going on between the retirements and the parties and the.
Just have a few real quick. One, I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the hard work of Campus High School, the counseling department, Mr. Morford and his team, and all the staff for a wonderful and very successful graduation yesterday. It was a great event. Wonderful day for kids. And it really puts things back into perspective as you look at some of the challenges education we face on a day-to-day basis, and it really puts that into perspective. Also, would like to thank Mr. Winter, Ms. Caraway, and the staff at Haysville High School for another wonderful graduation this year. We had it at Bethel and it was packed. It was full. 71 kids. I think that was one of the higher number they've had in a while, and phenomenal speeches by our kids. And it was a great night. So I want to thank Mr. Winter and his staff as well for a great graduation. Then I'd like to also acknowledge the work of Miss McMullen and Mr. Foster in the two Haysville West and Haysville Middle 8th grade promotion parades. They were a lot of fun. Kids were and their families were very creative. So enjoyed that. That was great, and appreciate all the work of both those staffs in regards to that. I want to take a moment also to acknowledge Bethel Life. They have been a great partner of our district. We utilized them this year for our back to school and then also our end of the year event. They have been very accommodating and welcoming and to our staff, also to them for hosting the Haysville High School graduation. Again, Mr. Winter said a pleasure to work with, very accommodating, very reasonable. And we just really appreciate the partnership that they have built with us and us with them. And I look forward to many other great opportunities there. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. Macias so she can recognize our 26 Wonderful.
Absolutely. Thank you. I first want to call up Amy Sheeler and Miss Emily Betts. Amy has been recognized for a 26 Wonderful Award. Amy is the smiling face of our building at PAT. She greets everyone as they enter and forms relationships with everyone as they enter the room from ages 0 to 100. Amy recently went above and beyond by organizing and creating space for approximately 1,000 children's books. Organizing these books makes it possible for educators to find just the right book to give out each month. We are lucky to have Amy as part of our PAT team. Thank you for all you're doing. Next up, we have Officer Jeremiah Willis. If you will come forward, and Mr. Morford, if you'll join us. All right. Officer J.D. Willis has been a pleasure to work with at Campus High School. He naturally presents a large presence, especially standing next to me. But he's actively involved with kids that goes a long way in helping prevent a problem. He has a wonderful spirit that students enjoy and has shown that through singing the national anthem at basketball or singing karaoke at the back to school dance. His leading the kids in the roller coaster cheer of ball games is legendary. Staff and students alike will miss Officer Willis, and we wish him the best in the future. Thank you. Next up, we have a few retirements to recognize. If I could call forward Sarah Jones and her principal, Laura Rogers. Sarah has taught for USD261 for 40 years. She taught at 2 years at Nelson and 38 years at Rex Elementary, starting in 1983. She has been dedicated to teaching special education students all of this time. If she taught an average of 20 students a year, that would be 800 student lives she directly impacted in a positive way. We thank you, Sarah, for your 40 years of service. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Angela Bose. Angela, come on forward. Angela has been in education for 34 years. She has spent 15 years as an elementary teacher and the last 19 years as librarian at Nelson Elementary. At Nelson, we loved how Ms. Bose inspired a love for learning and reading through songs, dress up on theme days, battle of the books, and more. She inspired the students and staff by creating new opportunities for students through grants and field trips. She poured her heart into all that she did for students, and it showed. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
With Angela a little earlier because she said, I'm still working this week. And then we have summer school. And I said, you're not retired yet.
That's right.
Thank you. We'll go over
Thank
here and
you.
take a
Okay.
picture for you. And that's all we have this evening, Mr.
A couple of more items. Congratulations first to our recipients, and we'll appreciate all that you have done for our district, and thankful for your service. Next, I have two other quick items under superintendent's announcements. Dr. Carricker will talk a little bit about a recent notification we received from the state regarding district level of determination.
Yes, so some of you during our community retreat were able to join me when I talked about the indicators. So the state performance plan for special education for under IDEA, we all have to have a state performance plan. And there's about 17 indicators. Some of them are results and some of them are compliance indicators. The compliance indicators then go into what your level of determination is. And this year we received notification that we met requirements, which each year they seem to be getting a little bit more difficult to meet. So this is just, you know, something that we strive for every year, and we're able to come through this year. So it's a tribute to all the hard work that our staff does, all the hard work that our administrators do in supporting the special education staff in the building. And so we're really excited about this.
Dr. Carricker's work and Amy Bedient as well, and the two work these ladies do to ensure that we are in compliance with all the federal, state regulations in special education is quite a task, and greatly appreciate her leadership and Amy's as well in that area. Next, good news from Jen Reed.
We got notified Friday, and I got to share it with our leadership team today, that we are a Capturing Kids' Hearts National Showcase District again. This is a really difficult achievement to be honored with. They work with tens of thousands of schools, and they selected 17 districts from the nation, and so we were one of those 17. Yay.
This is a testament to the hard work Jen and her team has done, and the building principals and our teachers and our paras, our bus drivers, everyone across the district's commitment to Capturing Kids' Hearts model and building that relational piece. And we want to thank all of our staff for their hard work that allowed us as a district to benefit from their hard work and excited to, again, announce that we're a national showcase. That's great news. Thank you. Very good. That's all I have.
Very good. Maddie's no longer with us.
We told her at graduation we'd see her today.
She said,
just
I said, "You don't have any other room. There's positions open on the board. She could run for them. I don't know why she didn't want to do that. But I tried anyway. New and good. Anybody got anything new and good? Outside of all those kids that walked across the stages Sunday.
Amazing.
It was wonderful to see. As a board member, that's the most excitement we get is when we get to congratulate those kids
Absolutely.
for graduating and putting in the efforts to make it happen. So it's the best thing that could happen. So when we see that, get rid of those kids. First, bring on another group. Bring on Maya and her group. Okay, we're ready.
I would just share good that I want to thank the district staff for a wonderful school year. Somewhat back to a normal process procedures, which is nice. And that wouldn't have happened without the hard work of each one of our staff members. So we appreciate that very much and appreciate the leadership of the board over this last year. It's been a good year.
Been the best year in the last 3 anyway. Approve the agenda. We need to change the agenda. We need to move one item 6.0 reports. We need to move up to directly under 3.8 under consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda by moving 6.0 reports after 3.0 consent agenda and before 4.0 executive session to prevent presenters from having to wait on executive sessions to conclude, which could take all night.
Yeah.
That was a motion.
That was a motion.
Somebody?
I'll
I have a
second.
question. Go ahead.
Okay. Been a motion by myself, seconded by
second.
Jennifer.
Great.
Any questions?
Oh, sorry.
Maybe it's my addition tonight, but shouldn't that be 114 total number of students served? Number of foster students is 5, number of non-fosters 109.
We'll present on that one.
So
yet.
it is, yeah, it is 114 students.
Okay.
But we had one student that moved schools, so the data
Okay,
had to unenroll and re-enroll, so we subtract one.
approved. I read it. Okay,
Yes, I
thank you.
love that.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the motion on the floor? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. All right, we'll go to 2.0, district patrons and personnel to be heard. Has anybody signed up to speak? Does anybody wish to speak? No? Okay. We'll go on to 3.0 consent agenda. Has anybody got any questions on the consent agenda that they'd like to bring up before we vote on any of these? I would 3.6, I think, is a concern with Ms.
Yes.
Susan.
And I would like to make a comment as usual on 3.3 to thank everybody who gives us gifts and grants and all the support that they do. So thank you for all those good folks who in the kindness of their hearts give us money, including to our angel fund.
I'd point out on 3.6, and if you have any questions, Mr. Morford is here to respond to those, or 3.8, under 3.6 in the initial plan. This board thought that she may have to ask the foundation for money to support the trip. However, they've been able to fundraise with the exception of 1,200. Is that correct, Mr. Morford? And they believe they will have that done in time to make their trip in June. So they're not asking the board nor HEF for any funds to support that trip. It'll all be done through fundraising. And the one, as you can tell on 3.8 as well, there is no cost associated with that to the district other than gas for the vehicles going down and the toll.
With those two conversations, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented with these modifications.
I will second.
Got a motion by Miss Susan, a second by Miss Kelly to accept the consent agenda with the exception of 3.6 being struck and 3.8 is fuel and road charges only. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On Schools for Fair Funding,
Mhm.
how much longer are we going to be involved in that? It's been going on. It's so much per student per year. I know they're still meeting on our behalf, but it's a budget item. I'm not sure. I couldn't find the figure. How much longer do you
Believe it's
think
in
we'll
there.
be maybe it was in the,
6,000, and as I recall, in some, it was $6,600.
Right, 6,000, pretty close.
but through the years, it's well over, I'm sure 100K, 200K probably, which is a chunk of change. I just curious how much longer, or are we going to evaluate our participation with that or with that group?
I think it's a fair question. I think a couple of the points I would make is one, as a result of the most recent litigation that took place, there has been an increase ordered through the system of a CPI on an annual basis, which for this year has resulted in $1.9 million new dollars this year, just based on the CPI alone. It's my recommendation that the district continue to be a member of Schools for Fair Funding, as I believe it is a good organization that does fight to ensure adequate and equitable funding for public schools.
Is there any oversight, other individually or collectively by the state or school districts or whatever?
I'm actually serve on their board. I'm a treasurer on the board for this organization, and they do meet. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago of all the member districts. They're invited to come in. We get an update. Be happy to provide that to the board and any information that you'd like to have as a result of that.
Again, it started for, I know it's been, how many years has it been in effect? At least 10,
Oh,
15?
more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So-
couldn't tell you the exact date off the top of my head. I don't know, Greg.
Right. But I mean, everything, in my opinion, needs to be evaluated, or there needs to be new direction, but you being on the board gives us input, direct input.
Sure.
And I was unaware that you're on the
I'm
board.
the treasurer.
Yeah, I was unaware until just now. Okay,
So
okay, thank you.
I have a question. What was it, Susan? What was it you said about 3.6 and 3.8?
3.6, in the documents we were given, there was conversation about a request to HEF. And I had contacted Jeff because I hadn't gotten a formal request to HEF. And now David has said that they're not going to be getting a request for funds
So
for
we
HEF.
struck 3.6 from the,
Well, they have to come to you. I think they were also coming to you for, just to notify you they were traveling out of state.
we got that.
you want to approve you want to approve the trip with no cost or a request from the district or HEF. That's what
Right.
is the difference. In the original proposal, Ms. Ward put in there a $5,000 ask of HEF as a kind of a last minute thing in case she couldn't raise the funds. She wanted to have that as an option. And Mr. Morford reported today that they were able to secure the funds, with the exception, I think it was $1,200, and they're still working through fundraisers for that and would be able to attend. So there will be no district funds
But we'll
requested.
Leave it on for approval of.
Yes, of the trip.
Travel,
Yes.
yeah.
Need to amend the motion. Is that what you want?
No, we're fine. I just wanted to, when I write the minutes, I'll clarify that.
Okay.
I'll put it, I'll put it down.
Okay. Any further questions on the motion? All in favor? Opposed? Yep. Now we'll go to executive
So
session.
we'll go to the reports now.
Reports.
We're gonna do the report. Yeah, we
Yeah.
moved those up there.
We moved them.
My arrow's right there. I just didn't see them.
up.
Mental Health Intervention Team. Miss Angie?
Yes, thank you for letting us come and present today. If you remember back early, I think it might have been July or August, that we came to you about the mental health intervention team grant that we wrote last year. So it's the first year that we had written the grant, and we received the grant, which allowed us to hire 3 school liaisons. April Knutson is one of those 3 school liaisons. So she services the middle schools, and then we
Yes.
have one at the high school level, and then one that also services our elementary. And so we wanted to come back and report to you. We do have to provide the KSDE a fall report as well as a spring report. So this is the end of the year data from the mental health intervention team grant. So I'm going to let
Here's
April
that.
share that information with you.
Okay, let me jump into numbers.
No,
Okay,
just start
okay.
here to give an overview. Yeah.
Okay, so
quick overview of the whole intention of the MHIT program is to hopefully eliminate some of the barriers that our families have to receive behavioral health services for their student. And at the conclusion of this year, I feel like we've done a really great job of doing that. So I'm pretty excited to be part of this. So currently we are serving, or I guess the program is within 67 school districts across the state, 12 of those being co-op districts. And among all of those districts, there's 139.5 school liaisons helping coordinate those services. So, and again, the main goals or objectives that they are hoping to make improvements on are attendance, academics, internalizing behaviors, externalizing behaviors, which we'll look at a little bit closer here in a second. Like Angie stated, we have 3 school liaisons currently serving. We have one at the elementary level, servicing Rex, Ruth Clark, Oakville, and Freeman primarily. I am at HMS and HWMS, and then we have a liaison at the high school level serving campus and Haysville high schools. We also have 2 currently, so we are using our community mental health center is MHA, so Mental Health Association of South Central Kansas. It's not a new partnership, but it does look a little bit different this year with the addition of the liaison. So we have been partnered with MHA for a handful of years. Okay. And they have come into our schools, and there have been referrals made for mental health for school-based therapy. And we've had MHA come into our schools to provide that to students. This year, with the addition of the liaisons, it does look a little bit different. It's probably been a little more consistent, a little more effective, I feel, having the liaisons. It's really a big job to coordinate the schedule of the students and make sure that they are not, I guess, to be as least disrupted as possible in their school schedule. So we try really hard not to pull them from any of their core classes. We try to pull them just from their elective times, working with our teachers and such. But over all of our schools, so the 9 listed there, we have only 2 school-based therapists that have been providing services for our kiddos this year. That is not enough quite to meet the needs of all of our kiddos, but it has definitely had a positive effect on just our 2. And I believe we're in hopes of being able to add another one for next school year. So we started off the year with just our 2 therapists. And then in January, February timeframe, we were able to add a children's case manager to our team. And she is employed through MHA. Here's the good stuff. We have numbers provided. There was sheets that went around, and as Mr. Finster brought up, it does say 113. If you add all those numbers up, it is 114. We have 1 student that switched schools, so we did not want to double count them in the total number of students served. So everything has been adjusted for that number. But again, like I had originally stated, we have 4 indicators that primarily that we are monitoring, progress monitoring on, that being our academics of our students, attendance, externalizing behaviors, and internalizing behaviors. It's pretty great when you look overall. So the 4th line down, number of students with improved attendance out of the, and I grabbed our numbers. Let's see here. Out of the 41 students, 19 had made progress. So they have made improvements on attendance, which equals 46%, a little over 46% of our kiddos that we are serving. I think that's a really great high percentage. If you look at the externalizing behaviors, there's 29 students that have shown improvements, and that's out of 70 kiddos at 41%, over 41%. Academic performance, 32 of the students that we are monitoring that indicator on out of 60. So 53%, that's over half of our kiddos. That's so great. And then to internalizing behaviors, there's 32 kiddos that have had an improvement out of 74. So at 43% of the students that we're serving. Not every student is being monitored on all 4 indicators. So you may not have any truancy or attendance issues on a student that's, we're coordinating services for. So
That's why the percentage.
That's why the percentages look really crazy. So it's based out of the numbers that we have reported, either an improvement or not an improvement. So anyhow, those are kind of the big, beautiful numbers there. Does anybody have questions about the numbers that are listed or any of the other? Yes, ma'am.
Just out of curiosity, the four that are colored, the attendance, externalized behavior, academic performance, and internalizing behavior, is every one of the 113 kids on one of those four indicators?
Yes,
Okay.
correct. Exactly. They would have one or more.
One or more. Okay.
Yes. So some of the things, I mean, so we use a lot of the information in Power School to be able to monitor attendance. Something that I do at the middle school level is attendance. I do tardies to class. It looks a little different in the elementary. Their attendance is much harder to track because it's morning, AM and PM, I believe. So mine is each hour of the day, and I believe campus is very similar to that as well. So grades, academic performance, I utilize a lot of GPA numbers, missing assignments, things like that that are tangible in order for us to kind of help support the numbers or the data that we're reporting. So internalizing behaviors is a little bit trickier for us. We rely a lot on our community mental health provider to kind of help us distinguish what kind of improvements have been made in that. Be more of anxiety, depression pieces. Oh gosh.
Do they test for that, or it's observation skills, or both, or for internalizing behavior?
Yeah, to monitor that progress of that, or to just initially decide if we're.
Well, it says improved
Yes.
internalized behavior.
So our school-based therapist, they have the ability, it's a little harder for us as school employees. There's some change in our House bill as far as the wording in there last year that kind of prevents us from being able to ask some of those personal questions directly to our students without parent permission and such, which is the piece that we're kind of hoping to collaborate a little bit on and move forward and have some new ways to be able to monitor that myself. So I rely a lot on feedback from parents and our therapists, our school-based therapists. So as far as an actual scale that they're using or a test or assessment, it's kind of depends on the basis of the student's needs and kind of what they're monitoring for that student.
Each of the students have a treatment plan that's developed with the parent and with the school-based therapist. And part of that treatment plan are goals, and those goals the therapists have to report on each session. So part of that is
Yeah.
the feedback that they give to the school liaisons.
It's an IEP of sorts.
In
They have
sorts,
both,
yeah.
yeah.
In sorts, yes. I mean, some of our kids have obviously both. So the IP port is through the school district. The treatment plan is through MHA. So it is a community mental health provider coming into our schools and offering a service within our buildings, within our walls.
Do all 113 have plans?
They
Yes.
do. So they're required every 60 days to review that plan to see whether or not they need continued therapy services.
90 days.
Oh, 90.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so every 3 months we do a new evaluation and we do a treatment plan update. And we have to have consent of the parent. So some that we have served, we might not currently be serving moving into. We're also offering summer sessions. So they'll be providing services through the summer. We're utilizing Hemp Hill as the host building for that. So we can keep, yes, they were raring to go this week. So that's exciting. But to keep our families, to kind of give them still a local place since our schools are mostly closed. They'll be utilizing Hemp Hill. Yes, ma'am.
So as we talk about school service, and you kind of put up 4 elementary, and Prairie and Nelson weren't on there, which are relatively large for us. Is that based on need or based on resources? That's why we want to bring somebody else in to kind of help service those schools next year. What's the plan there?
Lee Herring is currently servicing those
Okay.
buildings. So she's a private provider that comes in that we have an MOU with. And so she provides services to those buildings. But there have been students from those buildings who have been referred for case management services.
Okay.
Yeah.
You may-
Children are growing a lot.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, I see the Kansas Department of Education, so I assume you upload or send this data information to them.
We do
What
twice a
do they
year.
do with it? They use it for an evaluation? Send more money? What do they do?
Well, yes, yeah. They take the information and they do, and We were really hoping, I know that they got a little bit more money, but not what they were asking for in the beginning too. And they actually were asking for this not to be an annual grant to write, but to have it built into the budget and what's given to schools. But that did not pass. So they're still hoping to do that in the future, but they're taking all of the data, such as this data from all of the 67 school districts that are the groups that have received the grant, and using that to just justify some of the services that they're providing, the money that they're
Do
giving.
they critique us in any shape or form? Do they have a meeting with you guys and they look at the data?
I don't believe, yeah, that's exactly, no. So we submitted our report and our numbers in December. And then again, they're due June 20th, but we're hoping to get those in here in the next couple of days. So, yeah.
I didn't know if they had
as far as
oversight or input. I mean, since you submit information, we spend money. I'm just curious whether they took it and feedback.
They do evaluate it.
I mean, and I think that, showing that those 46%, 41%, 53%, 43%, all of these improvements on the students that we are serving under, the modifications and realms of the grant, I think is probably, that biggest support piece for them to continuing and to show that the need is very obvious, I guess, within our schools across the state.
I'm guessing they'll use it as far as, because they do have a little bit more money, so they are allowing schools that have not participated to submit their application and possibly be awarded the grant. But they're also allowing, if there's additional money, for districts who want to grow their program and request additional funding for school liaison. So I imagine they will look at some of that data and determine whether or not they are going to award districts additional monies if they're requesting it based upon how many students you've served.
Yeah.
I have more questions. The last one I'll have tonight. Is this kind of like when we said IEP or special ed, is this like a pull out? Do you pull the student out of his or her class to do the evaluations? So
We do. So initially, we will have a referral made to my office, our office's liaison, coming through our counseling staff. So whether it's our counselors, school psychs, school social worker, we try to funnel it to that office within each building for them to kind of go over, are there already things that are being implemented? Is there interventions that are already happening? Is there a check-in, check-out system, things like that? So then the liaison, we are able to kind of triage the needs coming to us because there are quite a few referrals that are made, which is that bittersweet that we're hoping to be able to continue to grow and to provide, service for even more students as we continue to grow. First years can't, win the gold first year, right?
I feel like we already.
I feel like we really have. We're doing really, really great. But anyhow, so there are.
you
yeah.
answered it. Thank you.
So if a parent who was watching tonight had concerns with their own child, that they felt like this might be something that their child could benefit from, what would the process be for that parent to be considered, their child to be considered to receive this type of support?
Yeah, I would say that the best thing is to reach out to their counseling office within their building and start the conversation there, because we want it to be as least disruptive as possible. Like Mr. Finster was asking, yes, we do pull them from a class. So if there is a way that our school counselors can kind of help modify or implement something else within the school day, based off of whatever tier maybe that the student falls within, that's our preferred route. Getting to us is, kind of a little more a higher need, or those barriers that really that family is just not able to overcome. So transportation, working hours, things like that, if they are not able to get their student, to a behavioral health center, for some of these needs to be addressed or met. And, whenever I look and think about this, when I look at the academic piece and have 53% of our students have improved on their academics within the classroom, I get emotional. There we go. Have increased their academic performance within their classrooms just based off of these. I think that it means we're really right in the right spot doing what we need to be doing. But we definitely triage some of the needs. There are some SI tendencies, suicidal ideation pieces that come through, and sometimes those will bump right to the top of the list. So I think it's a little bit of a gift that we have within our school walls to be able to.
And then a parent, if a counselor referred a child
Mhm.
talk about what the role is in getting the parent involved at that point. as well.
Perfect.
I'm
Yep.
curious.
So if I get a referral from the counselor and we're going to say, okay, yes, we need to make this happen, I would then, the liaisons would contact the parent and initiate getting that referral submitted to our CMHC, our community health, to MHA. So once we do that, we would need driver's license from them and insurance. If there's not insurance, we can help with trying to hopefully arrange to get some of that piece taken care of too, if that's a barrier as far as, not having insurance coverage. But that is not a barrier that we will tend to and take care of that. And there's ways around some of those things. So the grant is really a beautiful gift. So at that point, then we would coordinate a time to do that intake meeting. So we would get the parent into the school. The intakes last about an hour and a half to 2 hours, kind of depending again on the needs of the student and how big our story, of a story there might be and things we have to kind of track and, the details to get ready to be able to create the treatment plan. So based off of objectives and goals that the family is presenting. So
Again, the parent, just like in an IEP, would have to provide authority for the district to move forward.
absolutely. So even before I'm able to submit a referral to MHA, I need to have at least a verbal consent from our parents that I can do that on their behalf. So I would then submit that referral to MHA. We get the intake taken care of, and then I start coordinating some service time. So we try to see each student every single week. Attendance sometimes puts a little glitch in that. So we do our best to do that and modify. And we only have our therapists certain days of the week within each building. So we also are kind of limited in the window that we have them accessible in that school. So there's challenges all around, but we're doing pretty great taking care of business. So yeah.
Did I understand? So this is a grant, but you have to reapply for it each year?
Yeah, it just opened and so it's due June 9th. And I think we'll talk a little bit about that later when we start talking about positions. But we would like to apply for that grant again and fund our school liaison positions. As April had mentioned, and working with MHA, I know that they are looking to interview. They had some interviews set up and they're hoping to hire a couple more school-based therapists. They would like to place 4 total in our district. They would like to have 2 at the elementary, 1 at the middle school and 1 at the high school. But that's just all based upon whether or not they can get those individuals hired and licensed. So that would work really well with the number of referrals that come in.
Absolutely.
And the number of students in our district that really require some of those school-based services.
Absolutely.
So
Just out of curiosity, if somebody is interested in doing this kind of work, what kind of credentialing do they need to have?
they're social workers, so they're licensed social workers, and it depends. There's, various levels of social work. So, but they do have to have master's level social.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Anything else?
Thank you for the.
Thank you, ladies.
Oh, yeah.
We do.
We've been up here a hot
apologize.
second, but we-
The PDF didn't get in the packet, but we can get it uploaded.
Sent it. Did not get in the packet.
Or I would have printed the whole packet, but we just thought we needed the data, but we can get it uploaded and it'll have some of the successes. Like they have to do open-ended responses as well as some of this quantitative data to KSDE. And so we
Yeah.
do a lot of that.
So there's a lot of other additional successes that happen outside of those 4 indicators. A big piece I kind of touched base earlier is having the liaison in these schools really has helped to make it a lot more consistent in as far as getting those sessions scheduled and actually happening successfully. So, I mean, if you can come in and imagine since state testing, I mean, students were all over the place. And so it was really nice to have somebody else rather than the therapist trying to make phone calls to the parents, to the teachers and connect and, make sure they have all that information and where's the kid out today? And can I pull them and they're testing and they come to the school and they're not able to see them. And I mean, it was a real headache, I think, in years past. So, that's been a beautiful thing. And let's see, we've had successfully been able to transition a kiddo out of the kindergarten readiness program and back into the regular kindergarten classroom, working on relationships with agencies that we're partnered with or supporting rather, St. Francis and DECA. Let's see, we have a family that we are almost has successfully transitioned back with their biological parents out of the foster care system. We added our case manager to our staff, which has been really, really wonderful, especially at campus. Some of those truancy pieces they're able to go into the home. So it's provided a huge amount of home, support for the family outside of the school. I can call and send emails and all that all day long, but it's so much different when you have somebody that's actually at your door on your porch and with your student right there in front of you. So that's been beautiful. Let's see, all the good things, more wraparound services. Wraparound services would be like children's case management. But we also have a Compeer. It's a mentoring program. It's volunteer based. That's something that is kind of supported through MHA. So we would be able to have a volunteer through that program that would be able to utilize the student, or the student could utilize within the community as well, or in the school, maybe for a lunch buddy or something such like that. OKC is One Care Kansas. That is for our families that do have Medicaid. And some significant health things going on. So it provides an overall wraparound piece for the entire package, medication management, therapy pieces, doctors. I mean, it really helps coordinate with that. And zero suicide is the protocol that MHA is utilizing within their organization. It's a 12-week program, and we have had a couple of students that have been referred to that program and successfully gotten through our 12 weeks and graduating out of that, which is always great when that can happen. So we'll make sure we get all these things. I'm so sorry. I've like taken up 10 times more time than I thought I was going to, but obviously I'm full of passion about this. So it's really great, but there's lots of other successes outside of just those 4 indicators. And so I feel very fortunate to be part of that this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Yeah,
Thanks, April.
thank you.
Universal free breakfast program update. Gina?
All right.
I'm guessing these two didn't get uploaded. Would be, it sounds
Okay.
like they were sent, but they just didn't.
The Universal Free Breakfast Program for the 2022-23 school year. Food Service has served over 300,000 breakfasts, and we're proud of the success of this program. We feel that this program has been very beneficial to the Haysville students. I've worked with some of the students up at the high school, and I'm very well aware of what they like and what they don't after some lengthy time with them. They're quite charming. Some of they can be very charming. The reimbursement rate for the breakfast program for the free is $2.67. The reduced is $2.37, and paid is 50 cents. And the food service average cost to cover the breakfast program monthly is about $32,360. The yearly cost is about $323,000. The reimbursement rate the district receives is about $58,781.28 monthly. And these are estimated approximate costs, because what it amounts to is there's some months that we have more days that we serve breakfast, and it fluctuates. So we gave approximate, but these are very close, the estimated number of what we serve and what we receive in reimbursement rates. The total reimbursement rate the district's approximately received is $587,000, which is a significant amount. The program right now is pretty well breaking even. We aren't falling behind. I'm very happy with that result. I wasn't expecting it, but we've come out a lot better than I thought we would originally when I first talked about this program. We braced ourselves for the fact that it might not come out on a positive note, but it has. And I think that the program's probably going to be another successful year if you would like to continue with it. Questions?
Do you think you'll be able to financially continue it?
I think we can. Yeah. I think next year's going to be, I'm not going to tell you the story. It's going to be tough. Next year's going to be probably one of the hardest years we've had with this. We have some USDA changes coming. Food costs are increasing, but I think the program's well worth doing. And I think we stay with it as long as we can do it. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions for Mr. Hughes?
Just out of curiosity, if there's leftover food, what's the rule, procedure, law as far as that? Can we donate it or we have to dispose of it?
I was asked about that today. Actually, I'm going to be looking into that a little more. We used to have to dispose of it, but I can honestly tell you that we make these numbers run as close, as very, very close. So we don't have a lot of waste. That's not something that we like to have in the food service program. And we were really hard with the numbers to make sure that we come out with the correct serving sizes and serving amounts. Do we hit it 100% all the time? No, but I would say
Oh, I understand, yeah.
we're probably in the 90 percentile most of the time with it. Once we get going, especially when you're dealing with high school students and they like certain things. And so I know those days to up the average.
I appreciate your frankness and honesty, but according to the rules, though, we cannot donate it to the senior center or donate it to a homeless center. We
As
have
of
to
right
dispose
now,
of it.
as of right now, I'm not aware of anything that's out there that we can do it because
Okay.
of the fact that we have, because of liability, we fix it at the school. But I will certainly check into that and get back to you with it. I can honestly say at one time, the answer was no because of liability, but
Right.
some things might have changed on that.
Well, there's the variables about pickup, transfer.
Right.
Yeah,
How it's
cost to-
stored.
Cost to assemble it and all that. I understand. I'm just curious. You answered my question. Thank you.
So,
Okay.
yes.
How big a deal is this no chocolate milk, no strawberry milk really gonna be? I mean, I'm hearing all kinds of rumbling.
No, what again?
No
Chocolate?
chocolate milk. Oh, yeah.
Strawberry
Oh,
milk only.
okay.
For
regular.
strawberry milk.
Well, it could be a real big deal.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say it could be a real big deal. Do I think that it's going to be a big deal? I'm hoping that, but there's been enough comments made that they will revisit this and not put this into place. I'm very hopeful that, they'll think about this and because there was lots of comments that have been made to the USDA in regards to this. I think it's going to hurt the program drastically if we don't serve chocolate milk and strawberry milk. And I think that the students will be very unhappy. Yes. That's my personal opinion. There's no documentation on that, just.
I agree with.
And
your
if
personal
and if
opinion.
I go up to campus, I'm pretty sure I can get a few backers on that. So,
I bet you can.
Gina, I just wanted to pass along some thanks. I've had many parents reach out this year and just talk about how grateful they were that this program was available. So they were quite grateful, especially we had to take lunch up last year. So they were very grateful that this existed.
I
So-
think it's been very helpful to a lot of students. I think that their attitudes and I've watched dispositions change in a matter of minutes when they've come in and they've had breakfast and they kind of can be a little bit grumpy, but then when their certain item happens to arrive before their eyes mysteriously, they are very happy. And I feel like that starts the day on a positive note. And I think we do whatever we can to start the day on a positive note. Everybody needs that.
Thank you for your hard work on this program.
You bet. Any other questions?
One
Okay.
thing I would point out is we originally looked at this, I think Gina thought at the end of the year, again, rough, very estimated numbers. We might be into it for $150,000 at the end of the year. And we're looking at almost a budget neutral in regards to this program. It is great for kids. The fact that she served 300,000, is that what the number was?
Mhm.
Breakfasts. You do the math on that, that's 1,829 a day at 164 days of school. That's kids getting 1,800 breakfasts that wouldn't happen potentially if this one wasn't in place. So I just want to thank Gina and her team for, first of all, coming up with the idea, bringing it to the table, implementing it, and most importantly, successfully navigating through this in a very tough time to control cost and food. So great work. Thank you.
Thank
And we'll come back next month and ask for approval.
Thank you.
I sent both of the presentations to you guys.
Thank you.
Got him.
And we'll post them, get them posted tomorrow.
All right, we'll move to executive session number 4. I'd like to have an executive session for negotiations of matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives of the body or the agency. This executive session should last 40 minutes and include the board, Mr. Jeff, Mr. Steve, Miss Jennifer, Miss Angie, and Miss Jillian. Not anybody that's in the room. We'll take a short 5-minute break prior to. the
Poor
motion.
David.
I got a motion and by myself and seconded by Miss Susan for the executive session. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carry.
All right.
We'll start the executive session. at
Can we turn the heater on in that room?
You need me to go get my blanket?
I need a snuggie. You want me to bring the appetizers with me when we go?
Yes, please bring your pretzels.
Bring the
We're gonna be there
pretzels.
40 minutes. We need pretzels.
You said, are we gonna get snacks? I brought you snacks.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you better eat them. There's plates in there.
I don't know.
I ate too many too fast. Now I'm like, bruh,
I know, but
I'm starving.
we're all gonna have garlic breath at work.
That's fine. Nice. And cookies.
And cookies.
Oh. Pretzels and cookies.
Oh, my.
What more do
Let's
we
carb
need?
load, people.
And
Okay.
a giant, this is not the giant size. I don't know what he considered. He said giant size, a large.
Are they bigger than that? Flavored like?
Oh,
Have you not?
They're
had
just
those?
regular.
Oh, Jillian, they are to die for.
They're just regular.
Saturday, you want to get started, because then,
Okay, I can throw away my campus.
You eat candy.
Graduation.
This will be fine.
Crap.
You're just offset.
Here's your supplement.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
All right.
I know you're in here. Where are you?
Thank you. We are back. We would like to extend the executive session for another 20 minutes to include 30 minutes, another 30 minutes to include the same people.
I'll second.
Motion for another 30-minute executive session, seconded by Ms. Kelly. Any further discussion? All in favor? See you in 30. Thank you.
Raining? No.
Did you have ice cream? I don't know. You like ice cream?
No, no, you don't.
Whipping ice cream is my favorite.
To be.
It is.
Return to executive session, no binding decisions were made in the executive session. We're going to go to 5.0 Treasurer's Report, Mr. Steve.
All right. You should have received the information on the expenditures and revenues for the month, as you always do. And are there any questions on that I could address? If they all look good, then we'd ask your kind approval of those so we can pay the bills and move on down the road.
I will make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Ms. Jennifer, a second by Ms. Susan to approve the treasurer's report as presented. Any further questions? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. 5.1, Mr. Steve again.
Yes, okay, addressing 5.1 for an action item. It's in regard to a transfer from the contingency reserve fund 53 and the capital outlay fund 16 to the construction fund 31. In 2019, the district established a negative balance of $1,351,280.07 in the construction fund 31. This negative balance resulted from construction project costs above the bond sale amounts. In 2021 through 2021, I'm sorry, in 2020 through 21, the district reduced this debt by $251,280.97 with a transfer from supplemental general fund 08, leaving the current 1.1 million negative balance. The district cannot carry a negative balance in the construction fund. The district consulted with KSDE Finance Department regarding this debt and was determined that it must be paid off as it is not allowed to carry a negative balance in the construction fund 31. For this reason, I'm recommending to the Board of Education to approve transfers of $1,055,702.55 from the contingency fund 53 and $44,297.45 transfer from capital outlay to zero out the negative 1.1 million balance in construction fund 31. Are there any questions on this?
If not, I will make a motion to approve the transfer of $1,555,702.55 from the contingency fund 53 and $44,297.45 transfer from fund 16 capital outlay to zero out the negative $1.1 million balance in the construction fund 31 as presented.
Second.
I made the motions. Ms. Susan seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're down to 7.1. Action items. Mr. Steve, I think that's you again.
Okay. Sorry.
Don't get too comfy there.
Fee structure. We sent this to you last month for review, and I noticed I did not get all the full information. The actual amount for campus yearbooks is actually $65 and not $50 as previously shown on the previous list. And also we added the driver's ed fee for district students, in-district students of $215 to this list also. So those are the two changes from last month for your final board approval for this month to get those posted on the website and all that good stuff for next year. Are there any questions I could help address on that?
Do we do driver's ed for out of district students?
We do, and that's at a higher rate.
I see.
And I didn't list that because I didn't want to confuse people.
No,
in the
that's fine. I
district.
just wondered.
Do we
Curious.
give our students the opportunity to get there before we let the out-of-district folks in?
I presume they do. I'm sure they don't fill until, with other outside until our kids are filled, I'm sure. But I have not asked that.
Jen, do you know the answer to that question?
No, I do not at this time.
I know it fills up very quickly.
I understand that, and I'd like to take care of our kids before we let kids from other places. So Jen, if you check on that for us,
Absolutely.
appreciate that.
Are we going to do individual motions?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I do have one more thing before you make a motion on this. The final paragraph about the educational foundation, about assisting with their fees. I would prefer if we could take that off and strike that until we have some more discussion. Right now, the educational foundation is not set up to have fees independent of the other things that we're doing in our strategic plan, specifically grants and working to help kids participate when they don't have the funding. So not that we don't want to do it, we just don't have it operationalized. So until we are able to do that, I'd appreciate taking that piece off.
So they're not able to do that at all at this time.
We don't have the capacity. You're
Yeah, so you can't do it. You're not capable of, you're not set up to do it.
We aren't set up to do it. I would like the chance to get it operational before we are able to do that, because you're talking about a bunch of volunteers and I haven't got a clue how we
You
would be
may
able
be
to
able
make
to do it
that.
by the time school starts, but right now you can't.
We'd have to add it later.
We'd have to add it later.
Well, I think why don't we
Correct.
give the foundation some time to get their feet on the ground and then we can look
Absolutely.
at whether this is something you can accomplish or not.
And it would be nice to have somebody who is going to be the executive director besides me, because I'm on my way out the door, make sure that they're aware this is part of it. So
Would you still want a partial paragraph for a little advertisement about the Education Foundation, not about fees or anything, but the Educational Fee Foundation is assisting Haysville School District. If you want to volunteer or help, please contact, would that be-
Include it with the fee schedule, because that's
Yeah.
confusing.
Would that be-
thinking
well,
that they would still
Steve's
be able-
rewriting it. Tell him
Sure.
what you want.
I think as
Please.
much as I appreciate the piece of this, I think I'd rather just leave it off for now
Okay.
until we can figure out how best to serve the kids this way.
Perfect. I can sure do that. Thank you.
Okay.
I will
Thank
make
you.
a motion to approve 7.1 with removing the HEF and the additional fees for in-district driver's ed and the yearbook correction for campus.
I will second that.
I got a motion by Miss Jennifer, a second by Miss Kelly to approve the fee structure as presented with the corrections and with the exclusion of the final paragraph on the presentation. Any further discussion? Favor? Opposed? Thank you. 7.2, computers for the business department.
You have any further questions about this proposal?
We're still planning on just receiving components and these kids are building computers.
Yes, our information technology department has graciously offered to build these units for us, saving us about, I believe, $800 per unit.
I would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion to approve action item 7.2 for the purchase of computers for the business.
Second.
Got a motion by Miss Kelly, a second by Miss Susan to approve the purchase of computers to be built by the business department. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
7.3, addition of administrative staff. Mr. Hirsch.
So last month, as you recall, I came to the board and presented data based on the goal the board gave me to look at additional potential assistant principal at the elementary level, presented that data. And the ask was to add an assistant principal at Rex Prairie that would share between the two buildings and between Nelson and Freeman, or however we decide to set those up. It would be both those four schools. And then an assistant principal at Campus High School for a total estimated cost of $205,000. I would remind the board that through attrition and savings from adding additional, replacing staff through attrition again, There was a savings of $210,840 in the administrative line for those. And that's where the funds would come to pay for that. The board so wishes, the district could look at this in a different way. Potentially, my recommendation in that scenario would be you would add a high school assistant principal this year and potentially add 2 assistants next year to the elementary as well. So I'll give that as another option to the board as well.
So you would add campus in 2023, 24,
Mhm.
and to the elementaries in 24, 25.
Right, we would look at adding the elementary positions in 24, 25 to spread that cost out over 2 years instead of absorbing it all in one.
But you have the savings of the 210 to cover, that covers everything.
There was a savings in administrative costs for next year
Yes.
that would cover this. And we actually have saved some additional funds through recent hires as well, but I'm very comfortable with the figure that I've given you on the very low end.
Wishes of the board.
These are really needed positions.
Okay, I'll make the motion that we hire the 3 AD positions, 1 at Campus High School and then 2 elementary to be split between 4 schools.
Second.
Got a motion by Miss Susan, a second by Mr. Greg to approve the hiring of 2 assistant principals at elementary and 1 assistant principal at high school. Any further discussion? In favor? Opposed? 4-1.
Thank you.
All right, 7.4. KSB Board Policy, Section J.
So we gave you 2 months on this one.
Reading an encyclopedia.
Exactly right. As you know, this is our largest policy section. It's Section J, covers all of our students. I haven't received any questions from board members about any of the policies on there. So recommendation tonight again would be that you approve that and we move forward with it.
I'll make a motion to approve 7.4 KSB Policy J.
Second.
Got a motion by Miss Jennifer, a second by Miss Susan to approve Board Policy Section J. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. 7.5, additional licensed staff to support student learning. Miss Jennifer.
We'll start with the PE position at Campus High School. I did send you all of the information electronically, but you also have copies at your area, so you can see the PDF. So we'll start with Campus High School. There is only one document. It looks like this. So basically, this document is what we used when we were looking at possible enrollment numbers at Campus High School. This is specific to the PE department. So as you can see, it talks about the course number, the course name. When it says primary, that's how many students have chosen to enroll in that class as a primary course. And the alternate would be the number of students that have chosen that course as an alternate. So then you've got the total number of students that would like to take this course. When we met with the principal, the department chair, and the counselor, we looked at enrollment numbers, divided that by a reasonable class size and determined how many sections, if at all, we would offer for each. This was prior to one of our PE teachers retiring, and that PE teacher had a foot in both houses. So the PE teacher initially was hired as a special education teacher and was paid out of special education funds and kind of moved into the PE realm, if you will. So because that person retired and was paid out of special education, we're choosing to let special education fill that position as a sped position. We're not going to fill it as a special education PE teacher. So the gray, I meant for it to be color. I apologize for that. The gray is highlighted in yellow. Those areas are the sections that teacher is leaving open now. So if you look, if you see one, that's a section, and each teacher teaches 12 sections in a year. So this will show the 12 sections that that teacher would be teaching. At the very bottom of the page, in the very last column of the notes, it says 7 teachers, 84 sections. So because each teacher can teach 12 sections, we had 7 PE teachers at the time of this, they can each teach 12 sections, which would be 84 sections. Currently, we have 6 teachers, which would be 72 sections. We need 84 sections. So either we pay all 6 teachers that are remaining on their plan to teach the additional section, or we hire a PE teacher. Now, a paid plan can run anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000. So if you do that math, you're looking at $60,000 to $72,000 for paying these teachers on their plan next year. Or we could hire a PE teacher that can range anywhere from our first starting at $40,000 to however with needs experience.
And one note too on paid plans, teachers do not have to accept the paid plan. We offer them.
Correct.
That's their choice whether they teach that or not.
We would need all 6 teachers to accept one paid plan, or if there were teachers that didn't accept it, we might have teachers that would get no plan, or we would have to cut more sections of PE. Are there any other questions about the PE position? I can move on if you would like. Okay, so next would be HMS, and there's a lot more data on this. Again, was shared with you, and I hope you all enjoyed my video. If not, go back and watch it. It'll help you go to sleep. So the first, and again, these are supposed to be in color. The first one I want to show you is the HMS reading. Looks like this, and it's front and back. What we had, we met with HMS and HWMS, their administrations and their instructional coaches, and we asked how reading interventions and math interventions took place in each building. And we found an inequity in the buildings as far as what our students were receiving based on what educational support that they can provide with their staff. So this data here on the front page shows the current reading teachers, explains all of that. And it explains with the 3 reading teachers they currently have, how many students they would be able to serve. So I want to draw your attention, because this is a lot of numbers, to the bottom where it says we are only able to provide support for 61% of the students identified as needing reading support. This is at HMS. So, and this is counting the students moving in. So this is current numbers as we see now. So 5th graders coming in as 6th graders, and then current 6th graders going to 7th and 7th going to 8th. So this is what we need next year. And because we have 3 teachers, we're only able to service 61%. Now, if you would flip to the back of that page, I asked the instructional coach and administration to give a mock-up of what it would look like if we added an additional teacher to HMS. And so this is kind of what it would look like. And at the bottom, it says total student, well, in the middle here, it says total students needing support is 282. If we added a additional reading teacher, you'd have total students supported 308, which not only supports the 282 that are needed, but it gives room for any students that might be limited open enrollment, or students that move in throughout the year, or students that might dip a little bit throughout the year and need that support at semester. So it not only covers everybody that needs the support, it also gives room if we have additional support needed throughout the year.
And that would include then strategies which are not covered, obviously, by IEP, right? Is that what we're talking about? This additional support for students that aren't covered?
It does cover everything. Right now, HW is also able to give a double block of coverage, which means they would have 2 blocks of reading only for 6th grade, because 6th grade goes from a 2-hour reading block down to 43 minutes. And if they need that support, then they need more time. So they really hone in on those 6th graders pretty hard to get them up. So then they don't have to necessarily be a tier 2, tier 3 reading kid, 7th and 8th. HMS has not been able to do that. So your second sheet.
Just based on support, is that what you're saying? Okay.
Your second sheet is HMS math. And again, the administration and instructional coach laid out for you what it is like currently. So I'm going to ask you, though, for time's sake, to turn it over to the back page. And at the very, very bottom, it says Math 7. Currently, they have all of the staff except for Math 7. So this is what Math 7 would be able to add. So they would be able to add additional tier 3 resources for are students that are needing more support in math across the board. Currently, we don't have that amount of support. We do have some more math teachers because of the way the special ed department has structured math at HMS. So the students with IEPs are getting some support, but our students that are general education students are not getting the amount of support they need in tier 2 and tier 3 because of our lack of coverage at this building.
Down below.
So moving on, just to give you some more data. So we can inundate you all night. This piece here that says middle school
Jen?
reading. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Don't want to lose the question. I want to make sure if you take a look at the top of the back of that document where it shows
Which document?
the one on math.
Yes.
She was just going over at the very top
Yes.
where it says sixth grade resource core instruction, class size 10, sections needed 6.
We've talked about, this was given to us when I said we could bump that up even to class sizes 12.
But right now it's based on having 10, a max of 10 in a class.
Yes, but when we're talking about resource, we're talking about all students on an IEP. So we want to keep those numbers as low as possible. Now, we have said we can bump that up to 15. So that does give us wiggle room if students move in with an IEP, if students are tested and get on an IEP throughout the year. And it also gives us some time to bump that up to 12 or 15. So resources strictly.
For 6 sections total, so.
Thank you.
Are we needing these math teachers because they're not getting it at the elementary level? Or are we letting them fall through the cracks?
At this time, we're seeing that we need a little bit more support at the secondary level, and it's not anything, but I'm going to say our triangle is flipped. I don't know if you understand that, but we're supposed to have about 80% of our students meeting benchmark in everything, in reading and math, and we're not there right now. So this is our current need. And this is how we need to support those kids, or the gap's just going to get bigger. This third sheet here says middle school reading 23-24, and it says middle school math 23-24. This was created by our curriculum assessment coordinators, and it just talks about the number of students needed for each class at each building. So in reading, you have the number of students needed for your double block of 6th grade, which I talked about. At HMS is 29. They would need 4 sections. At HW is 18. They would need 3 sections, and it goes through for tier 3 and tier 2. And then ultimately saying the total number of blocks needed to teach based off the teachers that are available. So I want to draw you to this number here, and I did it copied in color. That's good. So as you can see, HWMS is over 1 block, but HMS in reading is a -5. So they still need 5 more blocks, 5 more sections to be able to support their kids. This is just another way of looking at the data. Same thing in math here.
Does each instructor, like campus, still teach 12 sections? or-
No, each
I'm in-
instructor,
Math.
each instructor in math will teach 6.
In the middle
Yes,
school?
because they are just all 8 in one day, all 7.
Not on a block
7.
schedule.
They're not on a
Divided
block
seven.
schedule. Sorry.
Yeah.
Our schedule.
So the same thing with math at the very bottom, you can see it gives you the total number of students that need these classes versus the total number of teachers, number of sections needed. And you can see both buildings are at a negative, but HMS is at a -6 versus HW, which is at a -1. We can work with the -1. We can get class sizes up. We can't with a -6.
Back to Tom's question on math. Is our triangle flipped at the elementary level?
It's actually getting better at the elementary level. We have implemented iReady now in year 2, and we've seen some really great growth with iReady.
Okay, so the
So
plan
we're
is we'll-
moving that. We're going to implement our brand new math curriculum next year at the secondary level. It takes a good year to get
Sure.
our feet under us, and then we start seeing that improvement in second year. I'm hoping we'll see it in first.
And then a potential of maybe we don't need quite that many blocks of
Correct.
tier.
At one point, years and years and years ago, we worked ourselves out of an essentials class at one of the buildings, which would have been your tier 3 in a reading class. And we were like, oh, we don't need any essentials this year. That's our goal, is to work
Sure.
ourselves out of those intervention classes.
Okay, so we see that happening in our elementary. Now we're just trying to replicate it secondary.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our final sheet that I gave you is just a historical state assessment data for both buildings. So HMS is on your right? And well, depends on how you're looking at it. HMS is on your left or HW is on your right. It tells you how many level students or percentage of students fell in levels 1, 2, 3, and 4. I've kind of highlighted 2022, so you can see the difference in both buildings. There is a consistent difference between HW and HM at this point. And we can tie that back to the fact that HM, because of lack of teachers, have not been able to give the amount of support that HW has been able to give. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
You might just remind the board, when you look at levels 3 and 4, your top levels 1 and 2 are your lower.
Oh, yes, absolutely. 3 and 4 are the levels that we're shooting for from the state. That is our college and career ready levels. Level 2 is your on grade level. However, the state does not recognize that as a proficient level. And then level 1 is your behind grade level status.
So you'll hear a lot of talk about students not scoring in 3 and 4 categories, but if you look at it, or levels 3 and 4, level 2 is actually grade level. And that's one thing Kansas does. It's different than a lot of states, is the way they categorize on those performance categories. So level 2
That's new,
shows
right?
you're on grade level.
Actually, I'm on the advisory council for this, and we've talked at length about adding a level, but because the feds require, and this is a federal discussion, they require that 2 levels are below what you would call proficient and 2 are above. So that's why level 2 fell below.
But that's new criteria, right?
No, not necessarily. We've been striving for 3 and 4 for about 4 or 5 years now.
Are you putting you on the spot? Are you cautiously optimistic how we're heading and we'll get there?
I am.
Okay.
I believe in our teachers. I believe in the processes we're putting in place. We will get there.
So are we gonna run into the same situation with science?
No, not at this time. We have tiered classes in science. They're not offered like we offer ELA and math. ELA and math also filter into science and social studies a whole lot more. I mean, reading touches every single content area. We want to hone in there so our students are able to comprehend what they're reading. So it will, I think, naturally help our tiered classes in social studies and science. I don't think that currently right now, neither building offers like a tiered class like they would for reading and math. There are tier 2 and there's tier 2 classes, and that's just lower class sizes, still getting grade level content with support.
With pair support.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I will make a motion to,
Well, we
oh,
got
sorry.
one more.
Oh, one more. Sorry, Angie.
It'll be very brief.
You know, I'll give you what you want. No, I'm just kidding.
The special education teacher position being proposed is the functional applied academics teacher. At this particular point in time, we do not have this particular setting special program at the elementary level. We do have it at the middle school level, and we have a classroom at the high school level as well. We looked at this. Actually, I've had a lot of staff request this for many years. And so I told them, okay, I will go and make this proposal this year. But we have had several students that kind of fall in that range where it's very challenging being in an interrelated setting where our special education teachers are developing a separate curriculum, an approach to instruction for those individual students versus those students that are more integrated into their core classes in the general education classroom and then pulled out for math and reading. Usually we have about a handful, so anywhere from 5 to 6 students across the district in our elementary buildings that would require this separate curriculum and instructional approach. And that is kind of why we brought the functional applied academics, so that we can have that consistency at the elementary level and as they move up into the middle school and high school. And as you know, our caseloads keep growing. Mr. Hirsch shared the number of students across the school year that we've serviced this year, 1,283 students at one point in time throughout the year. And back in 2015, I believe it was somewhere around 889.
We're about 18, 19%
Yeah.
Is that correct, Angie? Ballpark,
Mhm.
sped population.
Are there grants for FAA teachers? No.
Not that I know
Okay.
of.
I just thought I would
Yes,
ask that question.
not that I'm aware.
What was the acronym again that you just used?
FAA,
Which
Functional
stands?
Applied Academics.
Any questions?
Angie, what is the job market like for FAA teachers in regards if the board does approve this? What are your thoughts on being able to fill it? this
So
coming-
functional applied academics teachers have a low incidence or, there's other ways, functionally licensed or low incidence. So it depends on what year you were licensed. And to find low incidence teachers are very difficult, licensed special education teachers. To find any special education teachers this year has been very difficult. We have very minimal applications. Typically, those that you are hiring are going through alternative pathways to get licensed. We have a couple of internal candidates that are very interested in teaching this type of position. However, we know we could not fill those positions at this time because we have not been able to fill all of our special education teacher positions at this particular moment in time. So even though we would like approval for this particular position, it may not be able to be filled as we're moving forward. But it's something that we would like to consider.
You said, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Greg.
Oh, you said you had people who are interested, but to get the education certificates, master's degree, is Wichita State, Friends, Newman qualified?
Yeah,
They have the curriculum to move these people forward.
Yeah, there's several programs.
Okay,
Southwestern
okay.
has a low incidence program. There's several programs, but it is a different license than our interrelated teachers.
Again, I'm picking on Susan. Maybe we need grants for that, or do we have a grant for that, Susan? I shouldn't be asking you questions.
Don't be
but-
asking me.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any
Okay.
for this particular
So,
license.
The other point I would make is it's possible that if you do approve this tonight, that the program would not be implemented next year. I just want to be very clear. If we can't find that position through the summer, it may be a higher semester if Jillian were to find somebody at a recruiting fair. It's very possible that if you do approve it, we may not be able to fill it going into the next school year.
what would you say the student population that would need these particular services from this particular teacher? Are we talking about 10 students or are we talking about 50? What are we talking about?
Yeah, it depends on the year. Over the years, it
On average.
depends, but on average, you usually see about 5 to 6 students that we
Okay.
would recommend for this
Okay.
program. So typically you like to stay around 10 in your special programs. Sometimes you get higher numbers.
Okay, okay. I didn't want to be dismissive, but I just curious the population. Okay,
Yeah,
that helps.
yeah. Any other questions?
From the board?
What'd you say? I missed that.
Wishes from the board.
Or wishes.
I will make a motion to approve the additional license staff request for HMS, language arts, mathematics, FAA, what I miss? PE at campus.
Campus.
Thank you.
Language arts?
Is that what it was?
Yes.
Reading.
Reading. Yeah, it's-
75.
Yes.
Okay, I was lost.
So clarify that you're approving the reading intervention teacher, the math intervention teacher.
I am making a motion to approve 7.5 as presented.
Second, I know where you're going with that.
Got my motion by
It's
Miss
9:40.
Jennifer
I had a long day yesterday.
And a second by Miss Susan to approve 7.5 as presented. Further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
7.6, annual paper bid.
All
Let's have more paper in our lives.
We probably need some.
Yeah, right.
Well, the good news is the paper per case is about 20% less this year
Hey.
than last year. So that's the good news. We received 2 bids from 2 different companies, and the bottom line is we would ask for a board motion to approve and proceed with the low bid from Contract Paper Group, Inc. in the total amount of $60,259.60. Are there any questions?
We purchased from them before.
I don't know for
Sorry.
sure. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
no, just wondered.
It's 20% cheaper. Yes.
Better go with them.
Stop there, Jennifer.
Yeah.
My bad, apologies.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to
Made the
approve.
motion.
Oh, who did?
Jennifer did.
What?
Did you?
No?
No.
Well, that you did.
Oh, I'll make a motion to approve papers as presented in 7.6.
I'll second that,
Thanks,
just because
Susan.
I want to. Yeah, there you go.
Got a motion by Miss Jennifer, a second by Miss Susan to approve the annual
Just asked a
paperwork
question.
bid of $60,259.60. Any further discussion? All in favor?
It's a lot of trees.
Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
First readings. Section K, L, and M of the board
So-
policy.
These are you're going to love these sections. They're
Short?
very short, like some of them are single digit short.
Yay.
And this will wrap up all of your policies.
Woo-hoo.
So we
Wow.
combined them all and you will be done now. The party continues because in June, KSDE will update, or KSB, excuse me, will update any policies as a result of the legislative session.
Right.
And then they also do it in December. So we'll bring you, it won't be like we've done, but we'll bring you just random policies that the KSB recommends we update based on legislative changes and so forth. So, but as far as KSB's policy audit, once you finish the KL and M, you are done.
You need to go to better parties.
Yeah, I agree. So that I'm just asking for your first read and we'll bring it back to you next month as approval.
Questions from reading those? Hearing none. Good. 9.0, future agenda items.
We've got, for June, we've got superintendent's goals, set budget, meeting, date and time, crisis safety report. The free breakfast program will come back to you for action. School-based health care clinic agreement with KU.
And we'll bring the policies back
Oh,
next month.
yeah, I've got all first
Okay.
reading.
Question. I thought when we were looking at the budget stuff 4 hours ago, I thought it said something on there about September 17th, blah, 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 blah. Am I?
So
Am I
you
having
will
that
have
about
a budget
experience?
hearing
Okay.
that's scheduled in, usually it's by, you have to have it by September 20th. If I remember, I did the 19th, 20th, somewhere in there. I don't remember the exact
Okay, so
date.
that's two separate times?
Yeah, you'll have a
Okay.
budget hearing and then you'll have
The
approval of the budget.
vote.
That will be for the 23-24 school year.
Gotcha.
So that will be, we'll start that process in August. You do your budget, new budget or revenue neutral rate, all those things that we'll bring, and that'll be in September.
Gotcha.
And in June, is that when we meet as a board to plan for next year that the state makes us do now? Or is that August?
Well, we've been providing stuff for you throughout the
Right.
school year. Jen is actually working with our principals right now to get their needs assessment information, like we brought to you last year. So we have to have that approved with your budget. So by September, we will have that to you to work through that process. We'll have a couple of meetings in August and so forth. And then Debbie will want to add, at some point, we need, since we've got a change in board and we've been in it, we need to update our Capturing Kids' Hearts social contract. So we'll probably want to do that, tie it in with maybe a early special meeting. But, and probably before October. Once we get through the budget stuff. And
Maybe just want to wait till January.
yeah, that's true.
Because there'll be a
With board elections. Yeah.
board elections in November, so maybe we just need to
We'll
wait.
just add that as a future agenda item
Yeah.
to update it.
Just need to wait.
Debbie, I'll send you a copy of Mr. Hirsch's current goals. That the board and board members, please look those over. So when we come into the June meeting, we can discuss those and finalize those and start working in July. We'll have to set in goals for a whole year this time.
Finally.
Finally, so I'll get
Yes,
those to
finally.
Debbie and yeah,
I will tell the board that and I will provide this to you in my memo. One goal that we'll spend some time on that will not be ready in June is my goal to look at budget long-term. That's a process that will include a lot of people in, and we'll take that place over the next year, but I can outline that process to you as part of that, if that will work. The other ones have all been met, but that will go.
I don't have anything else. Anybody else have anything we need to cover?
I just once again want to thank the board for a great school year. Thanks for your time and effort and all that you do. We appreciate you very much. Thank you.
We appreciate what you do and our staff as well. This is the final product of our strategic plan. So this is out there and available to be used at any time. Correct?
Yeah, we will hand that out at our community retreat. Everybody will get one then. Adia emailed it out to everybody that was on the committee. Got a copy of it. We're going to meet, and that was one of my goals, was to provide you a plan. So starting in August, I will start meeting with all the staffs, go through this. I'll outline that plan for you, and we'll cover it in our community retreat this summer, and it'll start guiding everything we do.
He is looking for people to be at the community retreat. So if you've got anybody, send her
Yes.
your contact information so we can get that started.
Make sure if you know anybody, we'd love to.
And for
we
you
don't want to leave
folks out
anybody out.
there in TV land or whatever you're in, you've got till noon, June 1st to sign up for the Board of Education. There'll be 4 positions to be up for election. So if you're interested, sign up. Adjourn. Thank you.
TV land's a good place to be.